Okay, here's my code practice oscillator project, and I did some research on mercury vapor rectifier tubes and xenon filled rectifier tubes. And here's testing some xenon 3B28s. And then I decided to use this original chassis here from an old radio and just repurpose that. And I had to strip it down, and there was a bit of rust on it, so I had to clean it all up with a wire wheel. And then originally I was going to use two 3B28s and that big filament transformer, but that didn't turn out to be what I needed. Testing on voltages, because rectifiers need 2.5 volts of filament voltage. Found out there's not a lot of glow in a 3B28, so you can't visibly see the glow except for at a certain angle. Then testing some different transformers. This turned out to be the setup that I was going to use, with the oscillator tube on the left, the rectifier in the center, and then a voltage regulator tube. And moving forward here, I'm wiring in the transformer for the power supply side. And here is the 6U8A oscillator tube, triode pentode. And then this is the first, and it has a very large blue glow in there. At this testing point I was running a little too much current through it, but that's why you got so much blue glow. There's the filament heating up before turning the high voltage on. And close up of the blue glow. And this one was the 816 from July of 1944 in its original packaging. I added a time delay relay tube also next to the power supply. And that waits 60 seconds before it applies the high voltage, so it gives a chance for the heater to heat up and vaporize the mercury before starting the high voltage. And this is only part of the oscillator circuit being built. And lots of glow. And the purplish pinkish tube is a VR150, 150 volt regulator tube. The orange one is the 75 volt regulator tube. I was just testing it for the different colors. And here I added a choke. I converted it to a choke input power supply because that's originally what it's supposed to be. According to the tube documentation, they don't show any information for capacitor input filter, so it's not ideal. A choke input filter is ideal for a mercury vapor rectifier tube. As we can see now, we're pulling a lot less current and a lot less glow in there, but it's still doing what it's supposed to. And different tubes here, different glow. The voltage, depending on where it is, initially started at 333 volts with half of the oscillator tube running, and then when you key it down, it draws that voltage down to 300 or 275, etc., depending on how it's set up. Here's a schematic of the oscillator project that I was working on. pictures here. Initially the oscillator wasn't running, so I had to use a function generator to generate a wave so that the oscillator, so I could test the amplifier section of the oscillator, which was working. It turns out the transformer that I was using was damaged and did not work, so I had to use a different transformer. And after that, it was successful. And there is the sine wave output at the speaker. So, nice clean sine wave, easy to listen to. And here's a short test. And after that, this is the transformer that wasn't working. I tested the tubes, everything was looking good. And then I swapped out the transformer for a different one. And that's to create a Hartley oscillator. And some different angles. And there's final wiring there. It's a little bit messy point to point, but I use terminal strips and should be pretty much good to go. I put the bottom case on to keep fingers out of the high voltage areas. So there is the Code Practice Oscillator project.